All right. Hey, hi. Hi, everyone. We're live. We're here. It's Friday, May 15th, I want to say. Nailed it. I always have to check nowadays. Doing this live thing actually helps me know what day it is. So, that's helpful. Wrist check today. I don't have my focus thing set up right now. It's on manual focus, but maybe I can get a shot of this later. On my wrist today is the Baltic Bicompax 001 manual chronograph, manual wind. It's not an automatic. This has been my favorite watch lately. Any of you watch people out there? Anyone care about watches? No? Just me? Okay. Hey, sort of a different stream today. A few different things happening. This looks closer than normal. Is that closer? No, it's not. So yesterday, last night, I actually went over down to Bellevue and with Jesse and Matt and recorded some drums down there at their little room that they've got, sort of a office/studio space that they use a lot for rehearsals and for recording and things like that. And I brought my drum kit down there as well as a few mics and used some of their stuff. And it was fun. There was a limit of 8 tracks simultaneous. So usually I'll put 13 microphones on the drums. So I couldn't do that. So we put 8 microphones on there. And so it was a kick, snare top, snare bottom, overhead, floor tom, just one tom, and then overhead left and right, and room left and right. The room there is kind of this tiled floor, sort of somewhat high ceilings, but then just kind of sheetrock walls, and it's pretty lively. It's not totally out of control because it's not huge. But I was actually surprised at how punchy of a sound. That was my worry going in there, was that we wouldn't be able to get a real punchy close mic sound. But I was actually surprised at how nice and punchy the drums sounded. So it was my Allegra kit that I brought down there. And today we're going to import those drums into my session and kind of give them a listen. And maybe I will I filmed a little thing while I was down there, just like a little drum miking 101, and I want to make a video of that and put it as a edited together video on YouTube. But I'll give you a little preview of it today, where I'm going to show you what each mic sounds like by itself. So here's what the kick in mic sounds like. Here's what the snare bottom sounds like. And I'll just kind of go through them, and you can kind of see what each microphone does and how they all come together. So that's what I thought I'd do today, because I need to import those and then do a little drum comp. So, decide what takes I want to use for the song. And then probably actually edit the drums too. And then also on this song, we still need to comp the vocal. So we're a little bit behind on this song than we are on the other songs, where other songs are pretty much ready to mix, and we've already mixed 6 of them. And but this one we're backtracking just a little bit on, and that's okay. It was fun. It was fun to go down there and hit some drums. Simple little tune. Nothing. We're not no one's gonna write home about how amazing the drum part was, but I think the tones we got were good, and excited to hear it in this room. That's always different when you go somewhere else. You hear something and you go, okay, it sounds good. And then you get it home and it's like, oh, it sounds different than I thought it sounded, or hey, no, it sounds great here too. I think it'll sound good just based on I know what mics I used and what the drums themselves sounded like. But sometimes I'll actually bring my own monitors. Like when I go to Bear Creek, if I'm there for more than a couple days, I'll sometimes actually bring my own monitors there. I've sort of stopped doing that because one of them like almost blew, and I'm worried about they're just like really heavy and fragile, and I don't like moving them. I don't like moving anything in this. I think this rack just stays here. I used to cart around gear, like grab a piece of gear, bring it to into another studio. I'm too tired to do that anymore. You guys, they should have gear at that studio. We can rent something. Someone else can bring it. The wear and tear on the gear itself, it just needs to stay here. This gear stays here. We're here, we're gear. Get used to it. I don't know what that is. Okay, so here's my session here. I've got this Sound of an Echo up here, and I've got my external drive hooked up to my Mac Pro, and so we're gonna do a little import session data here. Also, say hi if you're here. Say hello. Say, Aaron, I can't wait for you to import this session data. This is gonna be frickin' great. All right, so it's on this 5 terabyte Seagate Silver drive, and here it is, drum tracking. So we're gonna look at that one, and then look, here it is. It's all this stuff, and we're gonna do. You've seen this before when I import mix settings, but right now we're importing actual audio. And what I'm gonna do, this is important in the media options. You want to do copy from source media. That way, it's gonna copy all the audio tracks into my session folder, so that when I eject that this drive, I still have the audio. Rookie mistake is to import session data but not copy this audio media options. They're like link to source media or whatever it is. Nope, copy from source media, and we're gonna copy everything. We're gonna hit all here. So we're gonna copy all the stuff from that session to this session, and that's all we need. The kick in, snare top, snare bottom, floor, overhead hat and ride, room hat and ride, and it says 6 because we did like 6 takes of it. So I'm going to click OK, and it's thinking about it, and it's still thinking. That's fine. We need to give it some time. It's locating the audio files, and now it's copying. So that's a good sign. We need to wait for this bar to clear. That tells us that it's copying the files from that external hard drive onto my internal hard drive where I have the rest of these sessions. File session maintenance. It's underrated, you guys. Keeping your sessions tidy. Keeping them backed up. Got to keep them backed up. Got to keep them tidy. Got to keep them named well. That way, I mean, I'm producing, engineering, mixing this thing. Yes, sure. But one day later, I might want to refer back to this, and I want it all to be in one place on a backup drive, and I don't want to have to search on a million hard drives, and I want it all to be named things that make sense, right? So naming things that make sense. It's all very important. So while it's doing this, I'm going to take a sip of tea. Yeah, we had Matt there yesterday engineering for us and running Pro Tools. I was playing the drums, and then Jesse was also there giving some input and sort of co-producing along with myself. I like when I play, I need an external, not always need, but I really appreciate having another sort of producer mind in there to at least give me some feedback on, because you don't know a lot of times when you're right in it, when you're the one performing, when you're the artist, when you're the one being produced, or whatever. It just really helps to have a sounding board in there and go, what did you think of that? How did that sound? How did that hit you? Do you have any thoughts on that? And so I will always ask, and I'm always open to feedback, overly so. Like, what did you think of that? Was that good? Was that bad? And I'm kind of a shoot straight with me kind of guy. We didn't like the bridge, so I'm like, whatever, great. Like, let's do something else there. And so, yes, Jesse and Matt both were sort of providing that for me in the studio. last night, which was great. Okay, so here it is. Sometimes what will happen when you import session data, if we look at our task manager here, nope, still, it looks like, oh, there's nothing there. But if you highlight all the files and you look in the clips, the regions bin over here, or the clips bin, and you go over here and you go recalculate waveform overviews, it will recalculate them. There, it's actually there. It just had to redraw it. Sometimes the drawing of the waveform is in a different folder, or it's in a different session format, you know, or something like that. And I have to do it. I got to do it with all the takes here, which is sort of funny, but that's fine. So I have my groups enabled here, and so I'm just going over to this playlist selector by clicking this down arrow, and then I'm going to like here take 4. Okay, gonna go to take 4 and go recalculate waveform overviews. Wish there was a hotkey for that, but there's not. Take 3, recalculate. Take 2. And again, the only thing I'm doing is showing the audio. It's not actually processing anything or anything like that. It's just like a visual thing. That's all I'm doing right now. But I like to see. It's helpful to see the visual of your tracks. And recalculate. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna start here on the last full take I did, which was take 4. Actually, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new one called, well, 7 is the comp. I'm just gonna write that in the notes here in the comments. 07 is comp. That's for me. That's for whoever else opens this up. So now we have an empty playlist, and we're going to put our favorite takes there. And so what I remember is that this take 6 was my best take of the verse, except this fill going into the chorus. So we're just gonna, before we even listen, we're just gonna do a little pre sort of comp here. And now we're gonna go to take 5, which was the take before that, and I'm gonna do like this much of, actually, you know what? No, I don't need to do that. Go back to 7 here. I'm gonna go to a different take starting on the pre-chorus here. So I'm gonna delete that. So this is just the verse. Now, I also did some cymbal swells on the first couple takes. So I'm gonna go from here and just grab those swells, put those in my comp track. So I'm just copying and pasting with C and V. Just not quite. There we go. Okay. Yep. Grab that. Yep. And then the rest, I think I'm just going to go from the last full take, which was take 4. So basically from the pre-chorus, the start of the pre-chorus to the end of the song, I'm just going to grab take 4 and put it over here onto take 7. That's great. Cool. So now if I go to like a chorus here, okay, and let me make sure, let me see where these are going. Okay, I'm going to assign these so that you can hear them. So I'm going to assign them to my drum bus here. Okay. And then I'm going to solo these. So now we just have the kit, and here's like the top of chorus 2. Let's see how this sounds. Cool. So it sounds good. It sounds about how I remember it sounding last night. It actually sounds a little more washy, not quite as punchy as I remember. We were listening louder than I'm listening right now. That's a part of it. Sometimes it's like, oh, why did it sound punchy before? Because you were listening louder. Like, loudness has such a dramatic, I mean, it should be like, that should be obvious, right? But it's not always obvious. Why did it sound better before? You had it cranked. You had it turned way up. That's why. That's why it sounded better. Turn it way up and it'll sound better. But if you want to get real with yourself and like actually hear what, what sounds you've created, turn it down, because if you still get excited about it when it's turned down, then it probably is a pretty great sound. But having said that, let's just go through these sort of like one at a time here. So I'm going to disable my drum group, and then I'll just let you listen. So this first one is going to be, let me just go from the actual start here. I was a little early there. Just make myself a nice little loop here, put it in loop. Yeah, here's our little loop of chorus 2. So first one is the kick in. I'm actually also going to mute the drum compressed bus, so you'll just hear. This is just flat, just dry, as this is exactly as we recorded it, nothing added. So that's the kick in mic. That's a Audix D6. And I had it basically like right in the hole of the front head of the kick drum. So the kick drum has like a little, most front head kick drums have a little hole cut out, and I've got it just kind of like the face of the microphone, kind of like even with the hole, maybe in there just a little bit, kind of aimed right at the beater. And the Audix D6. Let me see if I have one of those actually. I don't think I do. I left it in the car. But the Audix D6 kick drum mic, you can look it up. It's a normal kick drum mic, very popular. It is that sound that you're hearing. A lot of click and top end, and a lot of gutsy, punchy low end, like way in the low, and then everything else is like scooped out of it. So it's sort of like a cheat code kick drum mic. It sort of sounds like what you always EQ the kick drum mic to be anyway. So it's got all of that mud and kind of 300 hertz and stuff like that. That can be sometimes problematic, is cut out of it. The one thing that it maybe lacks a little bit, it almost like it really cuts that all of that stuff out. So it's like hyped on the high end, and then like cut on the low end. In the kind of low mids and mid range, and then there's nothing else. So it's kind of it's sort of a one-dimensional kick drum sound, but it really works 90% of the time. It really works. Interestingly enough, there was when we were at Abbey Road, they used a Shure Beta 52, and usually I really don't like the sound of that, but the way they used it and whatever they did with it made me kind of rethink my hatred of that microphone. So that one's a lot more boomy and kind of flubby. And this one's like a lot tighter, which it's you don't have to work as hard with this one. It's sort of like put it up and it sounds good. Now I was EQing it on the way in. I seem to remember I probably added even more top and added even more bottom and took away even more mid-range. So it's sort of like, yeah. But that's, again, this is just one element, one piece of the puzzle. And this is just a close mic kick drum sound. So originally I set up a kick out mic, but then I decided I wanted to use it on the tom. I wanted a close mic on the floor tom instead of doing a kick out, because honestly, if I want like a big poofy kick out sound, I can either use the room mics or I can bring in a sample pretty easily. Whereas for the floor tom, I wanted the direct sound from the floor tom. So that was the kick in. Now here's the snare top. So pretty like a lot of low end in there, which that snare drum is was a 6.5 inch by 14 Pork Pie Bob. It's like their version of the Ludwig Black Beauty, and that's just a classic snare drum that if you tune it low, it just has that kind of kick you in the gut. And so on a song like this, that's kind of that slow 6/8 like backbeat thing. That's what I was going for, was that, you know, big, thick, low end, punch you in the gut type of kick, type of snare drum. And so that's the snare top. So from the snare top, you're going to get the attack. And you're also going to get that low end. So it's the initial kind of hit of the snare drum, and then here's the snare bottom. So very different sounding from the snare top. Now back to the snare top again. Just listen, and then here's the snare bottom. And then together, here's what they sound like. Now I'll take away the snare bottom. This is just the top. Now I'll add the bottom back in. Here's just the bottom. Add the top. Take away the bottom. So in the mix on this one, I do have the snare top up louder than the snare bottom, and oh, you can't see that. Can I move myself? Let's see here. I gotta open my little switcher thing so I can move myself. But I have the snare top like it's like 10 dB hotter than the snare bottom, so it's like significantly louder, and that's generally sort of like how I do it. That's how I like to do the snare top and bottom as far as the mix. Let me see here. Oh, is it the DVE? What am I doing? Run to, okay, so let me see. I'm gonna try to do this here. There we go. There he goes. He can run back and forth. So over here you can see right here, this is my snare top, and I've got this at plus 1.2, and my snare bottom's at minus 10. So that's like a general sort of like ratio. It totally depends, obviously, on like how hot you tracked, you know, your snare top and bottom. But in general, that's how I like it. So the bottom is giving that, you're hearing the actual snares against the bottom head of the drum, and that provides kind of that a little bit more of the definition and the length too. The whereas the top is like pretty quick, the bottom is like slower. Sometimes you can even see that. Yeah, it's not really reflected in the waveform, but if you look here, you can see how, maybe a little bit you can see, this is the snare top right here, this purple one, and then this is the snare bottom. So the snare top has a quicker fall off after this sort of peak here, and then the snare bottom is a little bit more uniform overall, and it lasts, like the strength of the signal sort of lasts longer, and you can hear that just when you listen to it. That's the bottom again. And then this is the top. Here's both of them together. Cool. So, moving on, we've got the floor. Now, this one, man, I tell you what, the Audix D4, it's just awesome sounding. Here's the Audix D4 on the floor tom. Let me do it down here. I hit it a little harder. So just pretty massive sounding. Nothing much to that. It's just the kind of the floor tom sound. Here I am kind of building on it. This song has some slowdowns and speed ups in it. Now we've got our overheads here. Okay, let me disable my drum group so we can listen to just overheads. So these are my overheads. I can see just by looking at them that the hat side overhead was tracked a little hotter than the ride side. So I'm just gonna do a little clip gain up on the ride side here. Go about 1.5 dB, so I'm going to reflect that over here as well. That way they're just sort of even. Sometimes it's especially interesting when you solo overheads like that. I could instantly tell, even just not by looking at it, that it was scooted over to this side. I heard more of it coming from my left speaker than my right speaker, so I was like, oh, that needs to be. But that's an easy, quick fix. You saw that took me about 5 seconds to fix, so that's fine. So those are my overheads. That was the Ear Trumpet Labs Edwina. Oh, by the way, I had a Audix i5 on the top snare and an Audix D2 on the bottom snare. And then on the floor, I had that Audix D6. These are all just dynamic mics. And I had the D4 on the floor tom and then the D6 on the kick drum. And then on my overheads, I had these Ear Trumpet Labs Edwina microphones, which are really cool. I use them on piano. That's kind of their home here at my house. They're just permanently sort of set up there on the piano. I almost forgot them actually yesterday until I was on my way out the door, and I was like, wait, I need those. So we use those. Those are nice. They don't have a lot of low end. But you can kind of use that to your advantage. You don't have to scoop out a bunch of low end from the drums. My favorite overhead mics to use are just the standard old AKG 414s, because you can capture a lot more of the low end of the toms. And they just sound incredibly detailed, and they have a nice mix of being bright enough, but also not too bright. And so they're just my all-time favorite, and they're just total standard. Every studio has them, so I just always use those if they're available. But these are kind of nice. It's like a little bit rolled off bottom end, and a little bit more pronounced mid-range maybe to them. Not super extended top end, but they sort of work like with no further modifications. It's like the kick drum mic, like that Audix D6. You sort of put them up and you don't have to do anything to them. That's why they actually work great as live overhead mics too. They're not, you don't have to roll off a bunch of low end. They're just kind of picking up the cymbals and a little bit of the attack of like the toms maybe, and they're just good overall mics. And I had a stereo set of them, and I like doing things in stereo when I'm recording drums. I like everything in stereo. So lastly, we have our room mics here. Okay. Let me turn these up just a little bit so you can hear them better. I'll turn them back down. Sounds pretty cool. So those were actually the Royer 101 ribbon mics, and I usually like, in a perfect world, I like to use Omni microphones on rooms, and what that means is it has two capsules, and they're both on. And what that does is it picks up all around the microphone. A normal microphone, or like a cardioid microphone, is like a microphone that if you you know, like this microphone. Actually, this might be like super cardioid or something. I'm not sure what this is, but a cardioid microphone has a cardioid pickup pattern. It says that because it looks like kind of like a heart. Obviously, it's in 360 degrees all around here, but basically it picks up like this. So it picks up around it, you know, a little bit or whatever, but it's got a lot of rejection if you know from the back. So in general, like dynamic mics are all cardioid and they reject really well from the back. But an Omni mic, like if this mic was Omni, it would be picking up from here and the back and the front. Typically, Omni mics don't look like this. They don't look like a directional. They don't have a direction. They look more like a condenser mic that has two sides, and it just picks up everywhere. And that's what I like when I'm doing rooms, because I like it to pick up the back wall as well as everything bouncing around and all of that natural room reverb that's happening. I like the rooms to be kind of wild sounding. But in absence of Omni mics, we used ribbons, because ribbons are figure eight, which is kind of like Omni, but a little different. A figure eight pattern is so called because it's like this, basically. So if this is the front of your microphone, it picks up here, and it picks up back here, and it rejects from the sides. Okay? So ribbon mics are actually particularly useful if you have like a bunch of people sitting next to each other. My buddy, who name drop, he engineered the Casey Musgraves album that won the Grammy. He was talking, I heard him talking on a podcast about how he used a lot of figure eight microphones because they tracked it like live. They tracked that record like with the band live, and everyone was like sitting next to each other, and they used a bunch of figure eight mics because they reject from the sides rather than rejecting sound from the back. They reject from the sides, so they had people kind of sitting next to each other, and it worked really well to use figure eight type of microphone. So anyway, use those on rooms. Those are cool. I may excite those a little bit. Ribbon mics are kind of dark, so. But honestly, that's not a bad starting point, though. That sounds pretty good to me. So yeah, I like it. Let's listen to the whole drum kit here one more time at this chorus here. Here we go. I remember on one of the takes I went rat-do-do. Let me see if I can find that one. Sort of like that one. Yeah, we did a tempo slowdown. This is again, this is an older song that we're sort of redoing a little bit different. I am also hearing that there's sort of dark sounds that we got, so we didn't brighten up a ton in the studio, but I'm actually okay with that. I would rather have it be actually too dark than too bright. And the reason for that is normally when it's too dark, it means you've captured actually a lot of, most of the time, there's a lot of low end in the tracks, and that's easy to cut out, and then top end is easy to add. I find that it's harder to add the low end than it is to add the high end. It's with a good EQ, you got some good tools or whatever, easy to add top end. You can make it brighter, but it's hard to add the right kind of low end to a drum track. So we've got that. We've got like a lot of low end. We've got too much, honestly, right now to even use. Also, this song is a little bit of a unique case because I already mixed this song like twice, different versions of it. And so in my session here, I've already got like my subgroups here for my bass and my like guitars and all that kind of thing. So what that means is everything else in the session has been like EQ'd to make it really bright and like, you know, and like ready to go. Basically like mixed or like ready to be mixed. Like it's already pre-EQ'd, where the drums are just, they have nothing on them right now. So they would sound, even if I just imported, you know, some settings from another session, you know, they would start to sound a lot brighter. But I'm not going to do that because these drums are new drums. We haven't used this drum kit in that room on another session. So I don't want to import some other settings, you know, and confuse these drums. Like, I'd rather just start from scratch as I'm editing them and EQing them and stuff like that, if that makes sense, and stuff like that. I may I'll probably bring in my kick sample and snare sample like I do on my other tunes. But I'm really excited with how this turned out. It turned out great, I think. I think it sounds great. I think it's totally going to work for the song. Like I said, it's pretty simple. It's not like, it's nothing, it's not, the song's not about the drums, and I don't want to make it about the drums. But it will be fun to, yeah, just kind of integrate these into the session and get them like EQ'd and sounding good, and then sort of make sense of where everything's going in the session. So let's do that. Okay. So we've got our comp going. Now let's kind of finalize the comp. This is a very simple comp because I didn't do that many takes. And I kind of, that's also the beauty of like comping something right after you record it, is you remember, you know, I just remembered that the last full take I did was good. And then this from take 6, and I just because it literally happened last night. So I was like, okay, so that can save you a lot of time because you don't have to go through every take and look at everything. Having said that, I'm just going to listen through now and listen for anything that I don't like and that I might want to grab from a different take. So I'm just going to kind of hit play from where the drums come in here and just have a listen. You can listen along with me. More than my mistake. Can you change the sound of an echo? Can you leave the ground till you let go? Can you find the door till it's open? I'm gonna mute the vocal for now. Okay, I'm gonna look. I'm gonna see what else I did there. I know I remember I did mostly the same thing, but this is just a kick, floor, nothing, and then kick drum. So it just goes kick, floor. which I don't mind. It's not bad, but let's see what else we have. So we're working off of take 6 there. Let's go look at take 5. Take 5 is the same, except it's just a little different tree. But I like 6 better than 5. Let's look at 4. That one's kind of weird. So that's floor kick. So I don't mind that one either. Here's take 2. So on that one I went floor kick. A little different. I sort of don't mind that one. Kind of like that. That one's just floor. So I did give myself quite a few options here. I think I actually like the little take 2 best. Boom, boom, boom. That gets me into it the best in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think I should hit the snare yet because I want to save the sound of the snare until later because I'm not hitting the snare in this verse, as you'll see. So I just copied that little piece from take 2 and I put it on my comp track, which was 7 there. I even have a little pickup note on the do-doom, boom. Yeah. Okay, so just listening on here. Okay, so I'm just going to look at what other fills I had here going into the pre-chorus. I don't mind that one. It's very simple. And I like that whole take for the verse. I remember I did less kick drums there, and I kept a consistent pattern, so that's why I just know that was my best take of that. But let's look at this here. So I do, on this one, I do side stick, floor with the kick, and then just the kick. So stick, floor, kick. I like that one. I like that one. If that's the best one, then that's fine. But let's see what else we got. Here's take 5. Same thing, except I don't hit the first kick with the floor tom there. That's the same thing as 6. It's a little different treatment. I sort of like that one where I hit that washy open hat. And the way I'm editing these, I'm not crossfading them because I know I'm going to edit these drums. So I'm doing myself a favor by keeping things looking like this. Like if I crossfaded this, I would just have to kill the crossfade later when I edit the drums. So I know what I want. I want this region to start when this hit happens, and then I want this region to end before the next. You see how I hit the drum earlier on this one. So I want this region to end before that starts. So this is exactly what I want when I'm doing drum editing right here. So I'm just kind of getting the tracks ready for that. Let me just listen back a little bit. Okay, I think there's some takes where I do a flam, which I like better. Maybe. I'm also just going to listen to this pre-chorus here. So this is what I was looking for. I was looking for this little offbeat kick drum thing. So just a little treat. A little treat for the fellas and for the ladies. Got any fellas here tonight? Got any ladies here tonight? Little treat for the fellas and the ladies. It's a little kick on the and of the. I'm going to pull this out because I was hitting the hat a little harder, so I'm going to use mostly that take 4 or whatever it was. I sort of like the up and down motion of what this little kick drum does. It kind of insinuates a little 4/6 thing, and it just kind of feels good. So I like that. Now the fill going into the chorus. I don't actually mind that one. It was played like well and in time, but I'm gonna look for the one with a flam on it. I know 3 had a flam. So a flam on the snare. That one's pretty good. Let's just sort of keep that one in the back pocket. So that was take 2. Let's listen to 1. Now I'm not when I'm listening to these, I'm not necessarily like I'm listening for the treatment, the delivery of it. How did it feel? I might have played the exact same thing, but how did one feel compared to the other one? That's kind of what I'm listening for. Then just go in with my gut. That one feels good. Use that one. Yeah, so I already put my favorite one in there. And we got to make sure it doesn't kill the beginnings of your regions. Very, very important that you don't cut that off, because that's your mojo right there. I might even actually bring this out so it's the natural result of it. Yeah, there we go. Go back here, just listen to these other ones. Take 4 is the one we were on, right? Yeah, so let's listen to 3 here from the top of the chorus. So far I like 4 better in the first half here. Let's just do the first half. basically the same, although I kind of like the sound of the snare a little better on this one. Where was I? 2? Okay. Take 1. Yeah, I think I like what I got. Okay, that little roll up to the was like not long enough. So I think I'm gonna cheat a little bit. And I remember from this one, I think I could use that little roll there, or maybe this little roll. There we go, bingo. So here's what we're gonna do. Check this out. I'm gonna just take the roll, and I want exactly 2. There we go. That's all I want, just that little bit right there. And I'm gonna go back to our comp track, and I'm gonna put that little right here, and that should go, if my calculations are correct, should go from there to there. So I already copied that, so I'm gonna just click paste. Yeah, there we go. So now, so bum bum ra, dun, dun. Just a little snappier, a little tighter. That slowdown was pretty good. I want to look right here, this little extra kick drum. I don't know if I love how I did that. So we're gonna look at, again, we're on take 4 here. Let's look at take 3. So I think that's really all I need. I'm just gonna replace this with that. That's out of time with that, but that's fine. Let's just hear how that sounds. Okay, and then the speed up. Okay, there was a take like. I think it was this one. That one's not bad. What do I have there? Oh, my God. Maybe a little ahead of the violins. Again, we made a custom click for this song, and I was listening mostly to the click, but the violins sound like they're behind me there. So let's just see if I have one that's closer with the violins here. That's a little closer, at least the beginning of it. Except I think I still want to go. I can customize this. I can make the timing better. You know, this is going to be interesting. I don't actually know. I thought my session was set up to follow the click, but I don't actually know if it is. It's too weird to fade between two build-ups, so I'm gonna keep it. It's fine. Did a little double snare hit there. Sort of don't mind it though, it's sort of cool. Kind of like how I did that one the best. Okay, so this last fill here, let's just see which one we like. Sort of like that one. No, not that. I think it's Let's take 2. It's between 2 and 4, but I think it's 2. It's like the smoothest and the most, it's like the classiest. Okay, let's listen to the end here. What do we like at the end? We're on take 4. Let's check take 3. Here's take 2. Oh, I kind of like that. Just that much of it. Let's see if this works. Now I just want to see this little in between kick hit thing that I always like to do. I want to see if I have a more aggressive version of that. So bear with me here. That one's more aggressive. So maybe that one. I'm gonna need to redo that. Just that much. There's also that. Maybe that one. Or I think I like that take 3, where I emphasize the 1. Because it's less about, look at me, I'm the drummer, I'm accenting a weird offbeat thing, and it's more just, it serves the song better. It's all about the song. You guys, who cares about the drummer? It's all about the song. Cool. Great. Good, great fun. Now we've got our comp. Our comp is done. Our comp is done. Our comp is done. Now let's edit these. Since we're here, we may as well edit the drums. Also, hey, if you're just joining me, hi. My name's Aaron. Glad you're here. Hi, Adrian. Hi, Jim. It's Friday, May 15th. It's getting hot in here. As I'm drum editing, if I decide to stop talking, I may turn on my AC. I don't do it while I'm talking because it's sort of loud. You know? Is that distracting? Is that too loud? It's kind of loud. But in the summer, that puppy saves my life. In the winter, I can just open the window and get some fresh air from the outside. But I got a lot of gear in here, as you can see. I've got all this gear. Got these lights. Although this light doesn't get hot because it's an LED light, so that's sort of nice. Hey, I forgot to turn on my backlight. What a noob. Look at that lovely orange backlight. Right now I have this orangey backlight. It's not the same color temperature as this because I thought that'd be a more interesting thing to look at, but who knows? I could be way off on that. Also, let's just double check the focus on this bad boy. Let's just crack that little focus. Okay, he looks pretty good. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to turn this off. And let's get started editing these drums. What do you say? What do you say? Let's do it. A sip. AC is fine. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. You're my North Star. You're my guiding light. Okay, so these swells, obviously we don't have to edit these. Those are sounding great. Funnily enough, that little ting on the cymbal sounded a little bit late to me, so we're just gonna just scoot that manually. There we go, done. Nice. So a lot of these, since I have so many edits here, you know, all these little pieces here, I'll be editing those just manually, and then the longer chunks, you know, like this chunk here and this chunk, we'll actually use Beat Detective. But this song is going to be a breeze to edit drums on because we're in, well, actually, okay. Okay, well, this is good. This is good. This is a problem that you sometimes come in contact with. So this session, when it was originally set up, so you remember when I talked about setting up your session right and having it, you know, doing it right, do it right, right? Well, this one was not set up. I mean, it's not, well, no, it is. It's wrong. It's wrong. That's okay. It's fine. But a lot of times, the way that Pro Tools understands 6/8 timing, you have to delineate what constitutes an eighth note. If an eighth note gets one count, so a lot of times people will click it off. They'll go bup 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 bup. So they'll go to this, which is kind of where you set your tempo, and they'll hit the T key and they'll just tap it in dot 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 like that, and then they'll go okay, and this is in 6/8. But what they didn't do is the resolution here. They had the resolution at quarter note. So what that did is, if you look at the timer here, and I put it on bars and beats, which it is on. Like, look at the timer here when I go to like verse 2. So obviously we don't want to. That's not how we're counting. We're not going. If we're counting this song, we're not going 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6, and that's what Pro Tools is doing right now. So the time base in Pro Tools thinks that we're going 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, now all that to say, I could change the tempo and make it correct. However, if we have any MIDI tracks in our session, those MIDI tracks are going to change in time to reflect the new time base, because MIDI tracks by default to the tick time base, which means that they will change if you change your tempo. So, and that's a good thing, because maybe you're working on a pop track or just something that's MIDI only, and then you decide later to change your tempo. It'll just move all the notes and change the tempo, because MIDI is not actually audio. It's just commands and information. Play this note at this volume, and then it triggers a sound from a synth or an external thing or whatever, right? So I'm just going to make sure here in the session, and it might be like, okay, well, that doesn't matter because this session is done. We're not going to add any more MIDI. However, just in case, we're just covering our bases here. We're just going to look, okay, and right here, look at this, okay? So I have a vocoder. That is doing this. Sounds cool. So it's kind of like helping out the background vocals a little bit, and it kind of gives this like fun robotic thing. I love using a vocoder. I use it all the time. I probably overuse it, but love it. So if we let me just do this, and we can, because we can undo it. So if I'm like, okay, I want to change this tick time base, and yeah, this is the tempo, but the resolution should be eighth note. See what it did to the MIDI there, and look at it did to these echo background vocals too. Right? Because now it thinks that the time base is different, so it's moving things in time. So now this MIDI that was supposed to trigger on this vocoder here, we hear nothing because there's no MIDI there to trigger that vocoder. So I'm going to undo that. Let me just redo it and let me see if it moved anything else. Yep, it also moved this mellotron and these bells. Okay. And it moved the orchestral percussion, which is right here. Wait, okay, yeah, because that's a MIDI track, so of course it moved that. And of course it moves our song markers, so our markers get all messed up too. Now we can recreate markers, that's no big deal, but what we're going to do is on these tracks that it moved, I'm going to put these tracks, see right here, if you can zoom in on your screen, I don't know if you can. This little guy right here, this says this is your like time-based selection. What is it actually called? Let me mouse over it here. Time-based selector. Yeah, that was right. So when I select this, and then if I go to samples, now this stuff will stay put. This stuff is now locked to the sample, basically the audio timeline. It's not defaulting to a tick timeline, which is based on the bar and beat and based on the song tempo. Now, when I change the tempo, so if I do that same thing again, and I go here and change the tempo, right? So this track was the one that changed before, or was one of the ones. If I change this to eighth notes, now this did not change, right? I'm going to undo that though because other things changed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all of our tracks, and I can do this. I think I can shortcut this by just holding down Option. If I hold Option, it's going to do whatever I'm doing to every track. You got to be careful when you do that because you want to make sure that you want to do that. But I'm going to do that. Down Option and then go to Samples. Now I'm going to make sure that it did that to every track by just checking. If I just make every track medium, I'll be able to kind of look at a glance. And I'm just looking over here on the, you can't really, on the left-hand side here, right? And I want to make sure this little guy is not this little green thing, which looks like a metronome, but is a little clock that says samples, right? So I'm just going up and I'm making sure nothing's green here. Everybody is on the sample time base. And before I do anything else, I just want to make sure that when I did that, I didn't mess anything up, because sometimes when you do that, if you have, I just noticed there's some pitch shifted things in here, or some tracks that have the polyphonic what is it called? Let me see if I can find one here. Yeah, right here. So right here, these bridge bells right here, which is one of the ones that I think moved. This has this polyphonic elastic audio plugin engaged. Sometimes if you do the time-based thing, it can mess that up, but I don't think it did. Okay, so now if we do that same thing, if we go back up here and go resolution eighth note, first of all, I got to make sure that I did the actual right thing. Yeah, so now if we look at our counter, 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now it's correct. It's counting correctly. I just remembered something too, but anyway, that's fine. We'll deal with that later. So the only thing we need to fix is our markers here. And I don't know if there was a way to, oh yeah, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna undo what I did. Undo that. Now I'm gonna go to all these markers. If I select these markers, if you look here, this says reference bar beat. I'm going to change that to absolute. Okay? And then go to the next one. And it actually changes the look of the marker. It changes it from a little like flag emblem type of thing to like a diamond. Okay? So we want them all to be diamonds. So we're just going to go through and make them all absolute markers so that they don't change with the time base, with the bar beat. Again, now, when this session was initially set up, it was like no one knew that it was wrong. But this is sort of like a lot of work. It's not a lot, but it's like it's a decent amount of time that I'm spending like trying to get it just so that it behaves correctly. Now, this doesn't matter that much, but it actually does matter. It does matter. I'm trying to edit these drums. It would have been weird editing them to a 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 time base. It just that doesn't make sense, and that the session doesn't make sense. So if I were to give this session to somebody else, and they open it up, and you turn on your click, and your click's going da, 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 or it's not, because you can kind of make it work, with the click. But all that to say, it's a good thing to get it right at first, because it's a lot easier to get it right at first than to go back and fix everything like this. But, nobody's fault. It's okay. But this just illustrates the importance of stuff like this. Incidentally, when we were at Abbey Road, we actually dealt with this several times with our string score. So I set up the sessions initially, and then I sent them to a guy named Andrew who scored the strings and did an amazing job. But there were a few discrepancies with the time base that he scored them in versus how my session was set up. So there was one that kind of has like a 6/8 feel, but I think he did in 4/4, or it might have been like the opposite or something. But basically, he wrote it in a different. He wrote the score in a different way. So when the string players heard the click, they were confused because that's not how they were thinking of the click. They were thinking of it as 1 2 3 1 2 3 when they were hearing 1 2 3 4, and so that's important too. And the other thing that was important is that the bar beat markers line up with where the string score starts. So at 0, like I always start my sessions like 9 or 10 bars in, because I want to leave space there for like if I wanted to, later on, if I want to come up with some kind of intro or something like that. And usually that's fine. But when you have string players and you have a string arranger who arranges it from 0 as if the start of the song is 0, then it can get confusing. And what they ended up doing was renumbering the bars, and then also changing the time base in a lot of the sessions, that then we had to change back when we tracked drums, because I was like, I don't want to hear that click. I want to hear the other click that I understand. So it's just good to know that stuff. And it was good sort of reminder for me, when you're working with string players, make sure your session starts from 0. And you can do that by renumbering the bars, right? So that basically everything before the song starts is like a negative bar. That's a way to like sort of cheat and get around it. That the space before the first downbeat, as far as the score is concerned, is like -1 2 3, and that's like something you can do after the fact, and that's fine. But okay, so now we have done all of our markers to the absolute time base. Now we can change our tempo to this 8th note thing. And now, if I turn on the click and I send it out to everybody, including you people, and I turn on the click. So now, why doesn't that sound right? Well, it's because when the click was initially set up, Sorry, it's under event, and I'm sure when the session was originally set up, they set it up in, normally, and then they heard the click, and the click was going. So they went into event and time operations and changed meter, and they had the click on quarter notes, right? And we want to do the click on eighth notes because now we're at the correct time base. And we want a click for every eighth notes, and we want to start at the first bar and go to the very end. Just gonna hit apply, and now it's correct. So now if I go from the verse here,
Can a ripple flow away? Even from a
great. Now we're good, right? No more problems, right? Wrong. There's one more problem. This song has a slowdown in it. Now, I may as well show you how to do this because we're in Nerdland already. So this is just fun now for me because I like being able to do this, and then I like showing you how to do it, okay? So now, when this song was originally tracked, and this is a good just exercise. Sometimes you get sessions that are like this. Who knows when they recorded it? And it's not a matter of like this person didn't know what they were doing. Maybe they just decided to do it this way. They just wanted to do it this way. So what they did when they originally tracked this song was they just shut off the click at one point. So at the end of the instrumental, basically, about right here, yeah, so basically midway through that instrumental, like if we go like right here, this will be interesting because we'll have to redo a couple markers, but that's fine. They just basically shut off the click, and the drummer just went to the beat of his own drum, and everybody else just kind of followed them, just followed the drummer. So once it gets there, the click is like nowhere. Now, however, okay, I actually created a dedicated click for this song so that the band could do it with tracks. So I've actually already created a click that basically matches like what the tempo of the song should be, okay? Now, just because I'm anal and I want to be like best practices here, I think the coolest thing to do will be now to make the session copy this click so that now the session changes with how the click changes, if that makes sense. So I've made this click. This is just an audio track now. Now, did I just make this? How did I make this? Because why isn't the session already like this? That's okay. Yeah, so starting right there, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do this thing called, it's in Beat Detective, and it's called bar beat marker generation, okay? Now, because this is fine to do, again, because all of our tracks and everything is defaulting to the absolute time base, so nothing's going to move. The only thing that's going to change is our bars and beats here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here to here, and I'm going to say that this is bar, if I hit capture selection, this is bar 105.1 to bar 106.1. And what I did was I tabbed to this transient. So and you can see there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. Here's where the current grid ends, and then here's where that bar ends. So we're starting to slow down a little bit Now if I hit generate, it's going to create a new tempo just for that much time right there. And that's like close enough for our purposes. Now I'm going to do that for the next measure. And we're just going to go measure by measure here. Actually, why did it do that? That's weird. Oh, because I have to hit capture selection again. Capture selection, generate for here. Same thing here. Capture selection, generate. It's close. I might need to do it for every quarter note here, or every eighth note. That's fine. So we're gonna we'll just undo that. I think we're close enough. Yeah, we're close enough till there. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go from here to here. I'm gonna say capture selection, generate for that. Capture selection, generate for that. This is gonna give us basically the tempo slowdown, just as I had previously created it on this click, which was pretty close to basically what was played by the original drummer, you know, whom everyone else followed. So let's check just that much here. That sounds good. So if we just solo these two clicks here, you know, they're identical, right? And we're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to go like here, capture selection, generate. It's just generating it's generating a tempo change just for that eighth note. And then it changes the next eighth note. Capture selection, generate. And our markers are not moving again because they are absolute. Capture selection, generate. No audio is moving, it's just our session that is moving around our audio and adapting to our audio. And now this one, I'm going to capture selection and go, this should be 110, 1. Generate for that, because it speeds way back up after it gets there. So let's just listen here. This is just the clicks, of course. Actually, you don't have that other one. So now here's both clicks for you here. Okay. Now we're gonna generate it for this, which is different. It's fun, you guys. It's fun. Capture selection, generate. Slows back down again. You know, I mean, when somebody doesn't have a click, they're just going by the seat of their pants, so they're going to be fluctuating. And add to that, they weren't trying to play in time. They were trying to slow down and then speeding back up again. So it's sort of, you know, the click sounds like it's kind of all over the map, but that's fine. Okay, this one was fine, but we're going to do one for this one. And we need to do it all the way to the end because the click never came back. So now, once the drums come back in, this is going to be relatively steady. Oops. I forgot to hit capture selection there. So we're fluctuating here between 86.9, 86.3, 87.3, 86.9, you know. Does this matter? Not really, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now, the next question is, well, let me just finish this and then we'll talk about that. When I edit these drums, should I edit the drums to exactly match this fluctuating click or not? Is the question. And I would say probably not. I'm probably going to do it more manually, because conforming drums to an absolute grid feels good. It feels right. It feels, like a drum machine. It feels very in time. But if you conform my feel, what I played last night, to Chad, who originally played this track's feel, it's not going to sound. It's going to be like, why are you doing that? Why, you could say the reason is everybody else in the track played to him, right? So in order to match everything else in the track, I should play basically exactly the feel that he played. But it doesn't really work that way when you're not playing to an absolute click. So I'm basically, once the click cuts out, I'm just going to listen. As far as the editing goes, I'm just going to listen. And, I'll probably just scoot little drum things back and forward in time, just like a little bit, to approximate, good timing or whatever on the, as far as the rest of the tracks are concerned. And I'm just going to move it if the drums are like way behind or way ahead of the rest of the tracks. But at that point, the rest of the tracks are really my reference point instead of the grid, if that makes sense. But I still like doing this to the grid because what it does is it sets up the session for future use if you want to use it. You know what I mean? If you wanted to do a new score to this, right? Now you have a session that the bars line up. So you could do that. You could do a session where it's in 6/8, correct, like bar beat, time bass, and then also the bars line up with where the click is. So that's a reason to do it like this. And it's just like best practices, people. Nerdy. Total nerd city over here. Nerd alert. This is... I think I have a special appreciation for this kind of work because this is really how I sort of cut my teeth. And I was like an assistant engineer in Nashville for a long time. And this was the stuff that I did. Stuff like this. Okay, so we're going to do this last one. We're going to do every eighth note because it slows way down here. So capture that, generate, capture that one, generate, oops, capture this one. There we go, 2, 3, generate, capture this one, generate, capture this one, generate, capture this one, generate. Okay, let's hear this. Now let's look at this last hit here. Here's where I hit the last hit, and I felt like I was pretty on. There's not actually a click there, but we'll just make one. And we can approximate that. That's fine. We're going to capture that, and then we're going to go generate there. And that's basically our ending tempo. Obviously, the song's done there, so it doesn't matter what the tempo is after that. But now... Why'd you do all that, Aaron? Well, now I can look at my session, and I can look at, if I have a counter up here, right? The big, we can do the big counter here. Let's make this nice and big so everybody can see it, and just kind of follow along with the counter. So yeah, so the session now the time base of the session now follows the tempo slowdowns, including this one too, going into the last chorus. And again, when I edit these, I'm just going to listen without the click. That was like pretty good. The drums were maybe a little ahead, and then I think the drums are a little bit ahead on this build up here. You can hear how I'm hitting, and I'm trying to follow the click or whatever, but I'm hitting a little bit ahead of everybody else. So I'll probably just scoot that whole thing backward in time a little bit. But we'll get to all that in a minute. Let's go back to the beginning here and just edit the drums as if this was just a normal old song here. And like I said, I'm going to edit these in pieces. I'll do Beat Detective on these larger sections, and then I'm going to do just manual correction on these smaller parts. So that feels pretty good. I probably don't even need to edit it, but I'm going to. So I'm going to start this one from here just to make life easy on myself. And really it's just this, right? Just this much right there. So I'm going to, if I open up Beat Detective here, we're going to capture that selection, and then we don't need to separate the clips because I've just done that manually. And then this contains just eighth notes there. So we're just going to capture that, and then we're going to conform those eighth notes. There we go. Just like that, it's done. Now, what I like to do when I have edited a drum thing is make it a different color. So now I know that all that stuff is edited and all this stuff needs to be edited. And of course, when you edit, you always have to make sure the next part that you edit is not cut off, which this one was. So we need to redo the beginning of that clip. And now we can do this little chunk right here. So this is going to be, we're going to end on the middle of a measure, but that's fine. It's pretty good at finding that. So when I hit capture selection, it basically is going, you're starting at bar 53, beat 1, and you're ending at bar 68, beat 4, which is correct. If we look at 1, 2, 3, 4. So right on that beat 4 is where this thing ends. So this capture selection is pretty good at doing that. So we're going to do this like the way we normally do it here. I got a little side stick on the snare, I got some kick drums, and I got some hi-hats. Very simple sort of beat on this, so this will be easy. Should be easy anyway. I'm going to go to high emphasis. I'm going to analyze this snare track here. I'm going to scoot this slider down so that it just grabs the snares, and it looks like we're going to need to manually get some of this other stuff out of here. I'm referencing the track underneath it, which is the snare bottom. Sometimes if you want to make the waveforms a little bigger to make life easier on yourself. But yeah, basically I don't want this to put triggers anywhere except where I hit the side stick here. Oh, and I need another one there. Since the side stick is kind of a quiet hit on the drums, it's, it thinks these other things are also hits, but that's fine. We manually did that, and there we go. Now we're going to go to collection mode. We're going to add all those. And then we're going to go up to our kick drum track here. I'm going to keep it on high emphasis because that click has a nice, the kick has a nice click to it. I'm going to analyze that. And there we go. Bingo. Oh. Boom, boom. Oh, we need one more here. There we go. Bump, ba bump, ba bump, ba bump, bump, ba bump, ba bump, ba bump. Just like that. We're going to add unique, although we could have said add all because that's fine too. Now, I don't have a hi-hat mic on this song, so I'm going to use the left overhead as basically the trigger for the hi-hat. And it's fine because we've already done the snare and the kick, so really it's just kind of like everything else, which is really just the hi-hat. dot, 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 dot. You know, that's all I'm doing on that. And the cool thing about collection mode is you can go add unique, and it's only going to add the eighth notes that aren't already in the collection, right? And then if we enable, let me see what's going on at the beginning here.
Can a ripple flow?
That's okay. So it missed a couple of these triggers because the cymbal, the wash of the cymbal was kind of masking the hit of those. That's fine though. I don't care. Separate those. Conform those. Now those are perfect. Highlight to 0, and we've edited that. Now we got a little fill here that we're just gonna edit manually. Let me know if you have any questions about what the heck am I doing. So I'm doing tab to transient here, and this is just capture selection. This is just the second half of this measure here. Easy, I don't have to separate or anything. I just go conform. That's done. So that's done there. Make that the nice slate blue color. Pull the intro of this region out a little bit, and yeah, we got. Let me just see what's under here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cheat here a little bit. So, because I just put this one little guy in here, I'm gonna make a new marker that's called drum edit. Wait, hang on, cancel. 3. So I'm gonna go selection. I'm gonna go drum edit. Take 3. So I'm gonna delete this edit that I made, and I'm gonna heal this transition here so that I can edit this whole thing together as one big thing within Beat Detective, because that's going to be faster. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to recall my little marker that I just made, and my marker is actually a selection. So if I click this marker, you see how it makes that perfect little selection there? I can go to take 3 and copy that take and put it on top of the newly edited drums, and then that'll be fine. I can move it a little bit in time if I need to edit that, which I probably will. But that's fine. Okay. So now we're just going to edit this little guy here. So same kind of deal here. Capture selection. Go to normal mode, high emphasis, analyze. We just want those side sticks there, so it's doing a lot more than we actually need, but that's fine. I'm holding down Option here and then clicking on the triggers that I don't want. There we go. Put all those into the collection. Now go to the kick drum track, same kind of deal. Yep, it did that right the first time. Add unique, and then the same thing with that left overhead, the overhead that's over the hat. That's a little bit closer to the hat, so it's going to pick those up a hair before. If you zoom way in here, let's see if that's actually true or not. I don't know if it is true. Oh man, they're right there with each other, which is good because it means they're in phase. They're beautifully in phase. Look at that. Look at that. Gorgeous. But what that means is it doesn't really matter which overhead we pick. We could pick both of them, and it would kind of it would work out the same. That's fine. Okay, so back to business here. I'm gonna analyze that. Subbeats on that, and then get all those in between little hi-hats in there. Back up to collection mode. Add unique. Enable my group. Separate. Go to conform and conform. Bingo. Just that easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's just that easy. My little fill here, just using tab to transient. My daughter just ran across the house and said, "I heard buzzing noises." I think she probably heard me doing something. Okay, capture selection there. We've already separated it, so we don't need to do that. Hit conform. There we go. Bingo. Where's this starting? Just gonna manually drag this thing to where it should be. Nope, that's not right. My grid should be on eighth notes. It's a little bit late in time, that's fine. Go back to slip mode. Now that one's good. Like that. Let's just listen back and see if our feel is good here. Yeah. Also, sorry, my AC is on, so if you hear some rumbling, that's what that's all about. But it's just getting dang hot in here. It's a warm day. It's getting real hot. So hopefully you can hear me over the top of it. But, you know, I mean, Aaron, do you need to edit the drums in the song? Probably not. Probably not. But this is why I'm doing it. Because I want the drums to be real backgroundy on this song. I don't want the drums to really have personality necessarily. They're adding to the feel of the song, but this song is still just kind of about the vocal and the strings. The strings are kind of the star of the show here, especially in that instrumental. A little pizzicato in there. So, yeah, having the drums be perfectly in time just helps you kind of forget about them. And that's sort of what I want. I want them to just be holding their own back there. So we're just going to edit them within an inch of their life. Nah, just, you know, average editing here. Okay, I'm gonna go from here to there. Well, no, let's go to. We'll go to the right there. Because that's a nice little section there. So here we go. This will be easier because the snare. I'm actually hitting the snare here, so that'll be easier to pick up on. So if we grab this, I'm still just doing eighth notes. I don't think I ever do. I do at the end. I do a fill that's a 16th note, ba-da-da-da-doom, something like that. Anyway, we'll deal with that when the time comes. I'm actually gonna go to low emphasis for this snare drum because it's real deep. So I think that'll. No, but let's redo it. Let's go to high emphasis. No, this pesky snare is just kind of like. That's a good trigger point though, so that's fine. Snare's just got other stuff in it. There we go. So bring this down until it selects only all of the snares. That's fine, and then we're gonna just go in here and get rid of the stuff that's not snares. Also, hi if you're new here. See, there's a few new people watching. I can't see who you are, but I can see that there are people here. So, hi if you're here. My name's Aaron, and I'm doing Pro Tools in the studio right now. And y'all are my friends, and you are welcome to ask any questions. What are you doing, Aaron? Why are you down there in the corner? Well, no, I can be here too, or I can be here. Got a couple cameras. I'm very excited about the technology that's here in the studio. I like messing with cameras, and I like messing with my little video switcher here. And I like going to my screen and putting myself in the corner. And then I also like making myself go to the other corner if I want. And then I can run back to the first corner. That's fine too. So we're having fun today. That's what we're doing. And we're all together. So all that to say, ask me any questions. What's going on, Aaron? What are you doing? What's this all about? Ask me random questions that don't have anything to do with this, just audio production things, and also just whatever you want. Interrupt me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be interrupted. Having said that, where was I? Add all. We're going to add those. Also, the noise in the background is my AC. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll turn it off after I cool off for a little bit. But it's hot in here. Is it hot where you are? Where are you watching from? Tell me where you're watching from. Here we go. We're gonna add unique. We're gonna go get those hi-hats. That all looks good. That looks good to me. Separate those, conform those. Well, let's hear. That was incorrect. Okay, I put an extra little thing in there, so it's not correct. So we're gonna redo that. Conform. There we go. That's more like it. Do this little section here. Just gonna manually do the separations here because that's the easiest way to do it. And then we're gonna go capture selection and conform. Easy and fast. Okay, now we're just gonna do this little fill. Pull this out. About there. Boom, boom. Just that much right there. Capture that, conform that. That's fine. Looks good. Pull out the start of this one. It's kick drum. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the other one here. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make a new, this selection here, marker, add other thing. I can delete these markers once I'm done here, but this just makes it easier for editing, so. Okay, so right there is where the click stopped on the original. So I'm gonna edit just this much, and then we're just gonna listen, and we're just gonna do it more manually for the rest of the song. So we'll do this much. This is the last like easy drum edit that we'll do here. We're gonna go to the snare, go to normal, actually capture selection. Just those 4 snare hits is all we want. Go to the kick drum. That looks good. And then the overhead for the hat. That looks good. Okay. Separate those, conform those, looks good. Okay. Now, we're just gonna listen. We're just gonna listen. We're not gonna listen to the click because I don't really care what the click is doing. I just care how the drums sound in the track. So I'm just gonna like now listen. I'll turn down my talkback so you don't have to hear the AC going. You can just hear the music, and then I'm just gonna be scooting some stuff around here as I kind of listen back. I'll be just stopping and playing and just making some edits as I see fit, just using my ears, the old-fashioned way, just using your ears. Here we go. Let's do it. So that didn't take much. I just grabbed that little part of the build here and I just scooted it back about 20 milliseconds. That might be even too much. Let's just listen again. Sounds pretty good to me. So I'm just gonna keep doing that on the rest of the song here. right, cool. So I think I got enough of a handle on it there. So now, so I haven't done any crossfades yet because I wanted to wait to do that for the other tracks till I did these, so I could just do them all at once. So I'm going to do that now, and that's inside of Beat Detective here. You just go edit smoothing, and you go to your crossfades, and I like to do 6 milliseconds, and of course I do my little trick, which is highlight everything, Control minus on the numeric keypad, that nudges the regions in the tracks forward for 5 milliseconds, and then I click minus, and then that puts them back in time. So that puts the cut ahead of the actual hit, and that just provides extra space there so that the crossfades feel smooth, smoother. And that just saves you a little work on the back end. Oh, I'm getting tired. How long have I been sitting here? Woo! At least a couple hours. How long have you been there? Hi, everyone. Okay, so now we just solo the drums, and we're just going to listen. Just going to listen through one time and make sure all our edits are good, and then we'll be done. Here we go. Let's listen. Okay, that's sounding good to me. So now we're gonna rename these tracks with a $sign to show that these tracks are money. No, it's just so that when I consolidate them, which I'm about to do, all these harsh terms, conform, consolidate, you know, they're very aggressive in nature. But now when I look at the session and it's got a $sign there, I know that these drums have been edited. So now let's just kind of listen with the rest of the track here and make sure we're good. I'm just gonna listen from like the slowdown to the end here. Feels great. Feels great to me. I think we're good. We're in good shape. I also, right now I have the drums a lot punchier and like way more up front than they will be in the final mix. I'm gonna brighten them up and also chill them out a little bit. So right now, if they were gonna be annoying, they'd be really annoying. And when I'm, as far as timing, if there was timing that was off, you'd really hear it. That's my point. So that's what we do when we edit drums. That's fine. That's good. It sounds good. So I'm gonna take a little break and I'm gonna probably mow my lawn, but then maybe come back to this. I still need to comp the vocal, but really after the vocal is comped, this will be ready to mix, comped and then tuned. Gotta comp the vocal, gotta tune the vocal. Then this will be pretty much ready to go. I may change a few things in regards to the percussion possibly, but it sounds pretty good. And we're like almost there. So now this one is like taking shape, and those drums last night were a great success, and they're sounding really good. So I am gonna leave you with that. Nice long stream today. Did a few different things. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll come back sometime. I don't stream on the weekends usually, but who knows? If you're subscribed, you'll get a notification. If you subscribe and then you click the bell, you get a notification when I'm streaming live or when I'm about to stream live. I don't actually know. Do you get one when I'm about to, or do you just get one when I am live? Anyway, click subscribe, click that bell if you haven't already, and would love to see you back here sometime for another live stream here. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time.